All your numbers this morning.
Yeah. Still very old school.
How would you do that?
We live.
Even the bigger ones on the flag.
Gina, you get a kick out of this.
Gina. This house. Well, he'll be swimming the one in the house.
This is Gina.
Oh, yeah.
That's my work. Yeah, I'm just ready to go back. Oh, this is the voice right. Yeah, it was great.
All right, what do I have over here? This council meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of March 21, 2022 was included in the list of meetings published in the Courier News and Star Ledger. Notice of this meeting was also placed on the bulletin of Borough Hall. In addition, a copy of this notice is available to the public, and a copy of this statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Dennis Sullivan.
Here.
Council members, Granville Brady.
Here.
Tom Mitchell.
Here.
Gina Stravic.
Here.
Roger Vroom.
Here.
Fred Weed.
Here.
Randy Pitts.
Here. Please join me for the flag salute and remain standing.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, I'd like to pause before our regular business meeting to remember a borough contributor who recently passed away. William Brown, affectionately known as Brownie, was a member of the Hook and Ladder, past chief, I believe, member of the Eagles, also a Somerville Elk. Again, this seems like a regular agenda item, but we have many people in this community that have played a great part in bringing us to where we are today. I'd like to honor Mr. Brown with a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. O'Neill, if I could ask you, do you remember Mr. Brown?
Boy, do I.
Okay.
We're good buddies. Board of Engineers together. Got 40 years of fire department, here the whole thing. Great guy.
Yeah, what this town is all about.
Oh yeah, he was energizing. No question about it. I can tell you stories, but probably better not here, probably better at Manning.
Well, his obituary speaks for himself and to his family out there and to members that he worked with. He will be missed.
Absolutely.
All right. We have one set of minutes for March 7th. We have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Council members, Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
You have to abstain, that was before I was appointed?
Those minutes, March 7th, you're on.
She was appointed that night. So.
Yeah.
No, that was the
No, that
22nd.
That was in
Yeah,
February.
you can abstain.
Abstain.
Okay.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
We've never had, to my knowledge, a set of minutes never approved. So if you're not here or you're not comfortable voting, that's perfectly fine. We have two departmental reports and notices. We have our committee reports. We have a budget presentation tonight. I ask you to keep your comments short and succinct and to the point. We're going to start with Mr. Brady to my right.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I'd like to apologize to Councilman Weed for criticizing the stigma-free resolution we passed at the last meeting. I was really unaware that the initiative by the county commissioners is to develop an active policy that would destigmatize mental illness and other problems and promote ego building among the residents in the borough. The focus of the county initiative is to promote mental health awareness, conduct open dialogues about stigma, raise awareness about mental health and substance abuse disorders, and to create a culture where residents feel supported by their community and neighbors and seek treatment without being stigmatized. And again, I apologize to Fred for that. And finally, as we walk and drive on Gaston Avenue, be sure to look for the sign where the new emergency services facility will be built. It's a small sign for a very big and important project. Thank you very much.
Councilman Lee.
Yeah, Councilman Brady, no apologies needed. That was a very late night and I didn't quite explain the initiative as well as I should have, so no apologies needed. I will say with the Recreation Committee, registration is now open for youth tennis lessons, grades kindergarten through 6th grade, and youth soccer clinic and games ages 4 through 8. And then later on, it's budget season, so I will save the finance report for a presentation. That's all I have.
Councilwoman.
The Environmental Commission has been working really hard at lots of new things as well as repeating some of the old ones, so I'll try to highlight those quickly. They did participate with the overall town cleanup that Jason Kraskis from OEM headed up this past weekend. We have our own Earth Day celebrations April 22nd and 23rd. On April 22nd, we'll be planting with the Y tree seedlings, and the youth will be involved in that. On the 23rd, we'll have our traditional Earth Day cleanup with some new twists. We're also, we've got abundance of tree seedlings. We're going to send out families and Girl Scout troops and Boy Scout troops with seedlings to plant all week as well as that day. And families can also do cleanup. And the Green Team and Environmental Commission is also putting together a small green fair, which will include a few different brief educational sessions, booths, tabling events. And then the community garden project with the Green Team is about planned out and ready to go. So the weather's breaking, and expect opening day for the community gardens on June 1st. So do a little ceremony, and it will be, I believe, honoring Jay Scott, a master gardener from town who was on the Rec Commission. So we'll have a garden naming, and we'll make it fun and interactive. So lots going on.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, Mayor. Okay. We had planned, okay, the borough is being given a seedling from the famous Salem Oak in South Jersey, which Salem Oak has died but has left hundreds of seedlings, and one being given to each community. We had hoped to plant it in the yard at the Wallace House to replace a historic tree that was lost there. However, I found out we did not have permission from the state park system to plant it there. So we're going to have to plant it somebody else. Suggestion either Borough Hall yard somewhere or somewhere in the parks.
Tom, is there still time to get approval from the DEP?
Apparently not. This is what they told us, that there's not a chance of getting the approval now.
No.
Correct. It's been verified in an email.
It's government at its worst. Really, it's a perfect spot. It's the 250th anniversary of the revolution is coming up. The new curator there has worked hard to increase visitation there, and what better place? All right, I guess the Environmental Commission has to
But
look
unfortunately,
at other
it's
areas.
considered a state park.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
the Environmental Commission thinks that, at Tom's suggestion, that the next best place is Borough Hall, and there are aging trees on the property. And then I think Paul over at Wallace House, hope is that we will get another seedling, and when we get permission, be able to plant it over at the Wallace House as well.
so an alternate site, I guess, is better than no site.
Borough Hall has its own history, so.
Yeah.
Okay. The Van Horn House is going, on Sunday, this coming Sunday, March 27th, at 2 p.m., they're going to have a program on the Battle of Bound Brook. So, anybody who's interested in the Battle of Bound Brook, Sunday, March 27th, 2 p.m. at the Van Horn House, it's down next to across the street from the ballpark. And finally, let me just take this opportunity to wish our mayor a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now everybody knows. All right, now, good. I'll get so many cakes. Hopefully most of them edible. Never mind. Mr. Brown.
I'd like to, as was mentioned before by Mrs. Stravic, I would have to say that thank you to Jason Kraska and the group of volunteers that came out, all the different organizations and individuals that participated, as well as West End Hose for providing refreshments afterwards. I know that it was a great turnout. My wife and our kids were there with the Girl Scouts, so they had a good time cleaning everything up, and it was a good experience for them. They found 4 bikes in the riverbanks that some of the folks helped them dig out that were left there from who knows what it was, Ida or whatever. But it was great turnout. A couple months ago, I discussed making sure that we check our smoke alarms and making sure that they are not only out of batteries but out of age. Remember, they only last 7 to 10 years is the shelf life for a smoke alarm. But I would be remiss without reminding everyone to also check if you have, and most people do when they buy a new home, you're supposed to have a fire extinguisher. Please understand that unless it's a refillable fire extinguisher, it is only viable for 12 years. So you want to make sure that you check the date. A lot of times on the bottom of the fire extinguisher or on the label itself in the bottom right-hand corner for some of them, it'll list the manufacture date, and you'll know from that point 12 years. If you do have an expired fire extinguisher, you can drop it off at any one of the firehouses, and the firehouses will use it for training purposes and other needs as things go. So just again, if you have a fire extinguisher in your home, please make sure that you check it. And just remember that a fire extinguisher is only for incipient fires. If you have a full-blown fire or even a little fire, please make sure you call the fire department. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Oh, and we are meeting, thank you, Council President. The Flood Advisory Committee is meeting on Monday evening here in Council Chambers. Again, those meetings are open to the public.
Now, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Downtown Somerville Alliance Committee Report, Downtown Update. After a 2-year hiatus, the return of Girls' Night Out is scheduled for Thursday, May 12th from 5 to 9 p.m. The DSA is expecting this year's event to be one of the largest in recent memory and are looking forward to a fun evening of shopping, dining, and many special activities. There's still time to become a sponsor. That's open until April 1st. They're also finalizing plans for the return of Friday Cruise Night and Summer Stage Concert Series. More details can be found on their social media pages and the Downtown Somerville Alliance website.
Great. Two quick items. First one, just backing up the cleanup efforts from this past weekend. Had an opportunity to go over to the Roosevelt Schoolhouse area site, which is adjacent to the DMV office. And I wish I had kept a log of the stuff that I filled bags with. In that vein, I understand that there will be a new manager at the Somerville DMV on or about April 1st. So I will make it a point to schedule a meeting with him. We have tried through Kevin's offices many times to help the owner of the property become aware of the trash generated and left behind by the DMV. And it migrates west and north and south excuse me, from the site. Shouldn't be a big deal to police that site at the close of business every day. And that's one point I wish to make with the new manager. The dumpster issue has been cleaned up mostly. The recycling issue there has been cleaned up mostly, but the amount of stuff that accumulated probably since the last time we cleaned it up ourselves is too much. And it's private property. I've had the county board of health involved, and hopefully now with the new manager, we'll start fresh. Kevin, I'll try to set something up with the three of us at some point later this month and see if we can just arrive at a plan so that when the doors close, you know, the business is done, but the garbage leaves with it and it doesn't impact on the neighborhood. Finally, you probably read in the paper, online, through the efforts of Congressman Malinowski, Somerville will be receiving a federal grant for the restoration of Schumbers Park down the south side for the amount of approximately $2.5 million. That is $2.5 million. Last year, the congressman was here several times, and we were talking about future needs. And I said, "You got a few minutes? Let's talk about a site that needs to be brought back." And through his hard work and work of his colleagues in Congress, he was able to fund several projects here in New Jersey to the tune of about $9 million, I believe.
Yes.
And of that $9 million, a good portion of it is going to be coming here to Somerville. It's a shovel-ready project. We've got all of the design done. And at some point, we'll sit down and start bringing the players in. I would assume recreation and some community groups, maybe the Board of Ed. We have a chance to, as I said last week, we have a chance to bring the noise of baseball and basketball back, the sounds and smells of family and neighborhood cookouts. We only have 2 square miles. We need to use everything at our disposal. With the price of gas, it's hard to go to the shore for the day or to the Poconos for the day. I'd like to stay right here in town. And then the rebirth of Schumbers Park will go a great way to creating more recreational opportunities. I understand that his graduating class, Mr. Schumbers' graduating class, is having a reunion, I believe, in the fall, and they've already outreached to me, so maybe we can coordinate something with them if there's activity down there. Just welcome news. As I said in the press release, we send a lot of money to Trenton, we send a lot of money to Washington. For a change, the spigot has been reversed, and I thank the congressman and his staff, and there's a lot of work to do. It's not going to happen overnight, but the South Side will once again have sounds of people at play. Fred, do you have any memories of South Side?
Yeah, I grew up playing t-ball there.
All right. I embarrassed myself in many a charity softball game down there. I remember my kids used the pool. I remember shooting hoops with some of my students down there at the court. So it's a welcome rebirth. And I'm excited about it, and we'll make sure that we have a facility there that mirrors the progress and the positive steps we've taken to improve our infrastructure. Parks are a very, very important part of our town, and I think even more so now with the economy forcing people to recreate at home. And more to come on South Side, but thank you again, Congressman. And like I said, I look forward to having a ribbon cutting and cooking some dogs and burgers there in the not too distant future. So that's all I have. Kevin, we have one CDBG application today from Zufall.
That's correct, and this will be the last one because the deadline is tomorrow to apply. Zufall, located in Somerville, has to, again, just be heard at a public hearing. It's for the advancement of their programs that they do every year for income-eligible clients in order to assist with the funding through CDBG up to a maximum of $100,000 in their application.
Do they have a specific project this year?
No, it's generally, it's a public service project, so it's not a brick and mortar, so it's basically just advancement of services they currently provide.
I think in the past they were increasing their dentistry services, if I remember. Is there any action we need to take other than
There
just
is
say
no
that we
action.
had
It's always, it's that quirk of the application that says, have you mentioned this at a public meeting? And, everybody else has done. We actually handed in ours today. But yeah, that's.
Is there anything that requires my signature or yours?
It does require your signature, but for some reason, no. Yeah, I think.
I put it in my tray, I'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we are up to our one discussion item for tonight, the 2022 municipal budget, a process which started back in October. I'm very familiar with it. I spent probably 22 of my years on council, on the finance committee. It's the way that most of the public interacts with the borough. When they get their tax bill and the 4 coupons that they hopefully keep for the year and don't fall for duplicates. But it's one of the most important functions of municipal government. And with that, I'll turn it over to our finance chairman, Councilman Reed.
I don't have much to say, only because myself and the vice chair, Randall Brady, part of it, we did a very handy, easy to read budget. Because if you look at this budget here, anyone can decipher this? Probably not. I have trouble deciphering.
It was fascinating, Reed.
Yeah, it's fascinating to read, but to explain it, we want to always we work with Paige, we work with Kevin to make it easy to read. So I'll just let the slideshow speak for itself. This was, I will say, this was a very difficult year with COVID and with the flood. It was very difficult, but this is a budget that was worked hard on and the best one for Somerville. So,
Just look at the floor is yours.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman. So just so you know, as we've worked on this, obviously, like every year, it starts way back in October. Not to go into detail, but I certainly want to thank Paige Elster. Paige carried a very large wall of this year because of other things that we're working on. So Paige, this is your budget, right? So this will be introduced now, hopefully voted on after this. This includes both this budget as well as the user-friendly budget. Again, the user-friendly budget is an initiative by the DCA that, honestly, I find this more friendlier than the user-friendly budget because I've been working on it for so many years. So we'll move right ahead. The Finance Committee, I mentioned, is Fred Grand, who's carried the ball for several years now. Let's just say sat in the very next chair. Paige, myself, and Andy Hodgelik, who is with the firm of Hodgelik as an auditor, plays a role in the process of preparing documents. In the budget document, the whole budget document, it's a little confusing sometimes, but the current fund, the municipal budget, the park and utility budget, the sewer utility, and the marriage between our capital budgets located in there. So when you see that document, it includes all those for 3 major items with the attachment of the capital plan as well as the capital improvement fund, which provides us down payment for any type of debt service we want to go into. In the budget, some of the items that we're very familiar with, court fees, fees, permits, recreation, those are some of the numbers that are highlighted, the anticipated revenues. Obviously, they were anticipated because we're sitting here in March, and some of these numbers we will not know until the end of the year. We do, the last couple of years, there's been a little fluctuation in that as a result of the condition of COVID. While they've been, when I say fluctuated, some areas have been lower, some areas have picked up during COVID as a result of construction work and things of those items that go into town. The interest on investments, You'll see there, obviously, we're all familiar with the interest rates. While they're growing up slowly, it just provides a minor function of our budget. The state of New Jersey, that's the energy receipt tax, which I think we have a resolution on tonight, or we had last week, supporting one of the bills out of the legislature seeking for municipalities to gain a little more traction as to keeping some of that revenue. Payment in lieu of taxes, again, just about every meeting over the last couple of years, the governing body's been voting on financial agreements, and where that plays a major contribution in the municipal budget at this point. So, years ago when this was started, Colin's here just about every meeting. Well, he's here every meeting, been talking about one of the issues. But this is really the numbers we're getting in now. So when you look at the Edge and Cobalt and Dowdy, these numbers are starting to grow and are really playing an impact in our municipal finances. There's other contributions, the bed tax, which was replaced by a prior tax that was there. The Somerset County Kavanaugh building, which they provide us some additional revenue for, and Mountain Avenue, we own the property there, so they pay us rent for use of that public land. So those are just some of the items, just to give you a flavor of where some of the money is coming into the municipal budget. And again, I know we talk about this, and no matter how many times I've heard it, there's still a lot of questions related to that. And there's a slide just explaining that the borough, it's a negotiated percentage by law. It's not something we just come up with. It has to be within parameters. The county receives 5% of the pilot money, and the land taxes are continued to pay in full, and the pilot payment that we receive serve as a credit against the pilot payment. And quite often, the word schools and how does the schools play an impact? Schools really play no impact in pilots. What happens with the school budget is they have their budget, it gets voted on, the municipality has to pay that bill. So whatever their budget is, that's what we pay. So quite often when we talk about pilots, there's always a question, in regular taxation where the school board and the county and is receiving money, how does that differ? This is basically it. The county receives 5% of the payment, and the school's budget get adopted by the school board, and we pay that bill. Fund balance. So this year, because of the last 2 years, we had to use a little more fund balance than we've ever had to use before. And that's really, in other forms, it's called your surplus. So we regenerate that every year through fees and through programs that we do, and it comes into the budget. This year, we're taking $3.95 million out of that surplus to support the budget, and our hopes is to hopefully regenerate some of that money next year. Obviously, we're looking at other programs that we have, other pilots that are also going to assist us with the budget as we move forward. But the 3.95 is a largest amount we use to offset the budget this year. Statutory cost for the employees. Just to give you an idea of what they are, the PRS is a pension that actually went down. PFRS is a police and fire pension, and DCRP is the pensionable or the investments for part-time employees that we're required to make. Utilities, again, street lighting, it's an unmetered. Street lighting is unmetered, so we pay a fixed number for the type of lighting we have and the number of lighting we have. So when we add lights in the municipality, if they're not privately owned, we do have to pay that bill. Hydrants work the same way. So a hydrant is obviously an investment that the municipality makes. We work with the fire official to determine where fire hydrants are needed in the planning stage, and then what the municipality pays that bill. So obviously, if there's a fire, the firefighters can utilize those hydrants, and there's no metered activity that takes place with that. Telephones and water and electricity and gasoline. Obviously, the gasoline prices, we have a shared relationship with Somerset County. When it comes to municipal purchasing gas or government purchasing gas, there are certain tariffs that we don't pay, so our gas prices are lower, but they are growing. So we'll have to certainly keep an eye on that as we move forward with the budget. We do have on, I believe on today's agenda, the first purchase of our electric vehicles. So I know that's been certainly an initiative that we've been asked to look at. The Environmental Commission has asked us to look at that over a period of time. So we're finally getting into that. So hopefully we'll be reducing some costs as it relates to gasoline. Our 22 insurance picture. This is our group insurance at $1 million. We have other insurance at $980,000. Dental and waivers. We are looking at currently we are looking at an additional dental program right now that could produce a little less of a premium. We're working with the unions on that, and if the unions would all agree, if they all come to an agreement, we should be able to reduce that cost while providing the same level of service from a dental perspective. And the waivers are the amount of money that we pay when people waive their insurance. Which provides the municipality a savings. Insurance, we've been working very closely with our insurance as a result of Hurricane Ida. We've had a lot of claims. Again, we're part of a joint insurance fund, so we're able to share some of that risk. So we're not seeing any significant jump. The only significant jump that we're going to be seeing is on a premium based on cybersecurity. Cyber is the biggest issue. That's the biggest, claims that are affecting people at a very large amount. So fortunately, we're in a situation now where we've hired a private company. We have two, both our current company as well as we have a company now contracted through the JIF called Cowbell, and they're going to be providing both the municipalities and the employees. Training is in order to avoid being getting into a cyber attack situation that would work in a ransom situation. So we'll continue to work with them. We are in the first year of a 3-year JF. Looking outside the debt service picture, bond principal $1.7 million, bond interest, and that's just to give you a flavor of where we're at. We recently had started a discussion talking about some of the bond and possibilities of potential reductions in different programs. But where our bond ratings have been very good. Our credit rating has been very good. Our interest rates have been very good. We haven't had something recent, but they've been very good as well. And we look very stable from that area. Operational expenses, salary and wage and our budget. And I have those sheet numbers up on top, so when you see the full budget, you can match these up very easily. At 6.8 million, and our operating expenses is 7.3. A lot of the salary and wages. Certain departments have a lot of salary and wage costs. Others have much more operating costs. For instance, a police organization like ours is in a $4.5 million range on salary and wage. So again, while their operating costs will be tremendously lower. So that's, and then some other departments have a little higher operating cost. We talked about some of these areas last year. We just recently, unfortunately, we just hired someone not too long ago during the day to work as our parking operations, and we're starting some changes to our collection processes as well. There's been some recent things in the press in South Jersey, which certainly indicates that we need to make sure that we need to secure up areas where we collect money, and this is one of the areas. We did finalize our, later today we'll be voting on our collective bargaining agreement. It was voted on this afternoon, and hopefully tonight we were able to ratify that. We've completed our finance and tax office changes, and as it relates to DPW, we're currently in a facility. We've been, for several months now, we have been meeting with another agency to talk about other options that are available to us, and we'll continue to look at those options throughout the year. Social media has been a success since the middle of last year, and we'll continue there. The understanding the budget, it's as simple as appropriation minus revenues equals the amount to be raised by taxation. Those are the numbers there, the 26 million in appropriations, the 13 million in revenues, which leaves a shortfall of $12.9 million. So obviously, what does that translate into? Property taxes, Our average home is $274,665, and I know people are gonna say, well, it's getting harder to buy a house in Somerville for that price as the values have tremendously increased. However, we're working with the number that's provided to us as an average home. The municipal portion of our tax bill is a little over $3,000, and the municipal increase here is $31.41. That would be on the municipal side. I can't provide you any information related to county or school boards, $31.41. Looking at the 8-year picture that we've been kind of tracking this since when I say tracking, it's been tracked forever. We've been tracking it as part of our PowerPoint since 2014. So this, unfortunately, while the numbers are getting tinier to see, and we'll have to create another column next year, those are where we're at. So the $31.41 certainly is within the numbers that we've been working at over the last 8 years. Here's your tax bill breakdown. You can see it a little. I was going to say I can see clearly on the left-hand side the bigger chunk of that of the Prima Pizza pie there is the school. The upper right-hand corner is the borough. The school's at 2.157. I don't know if you can see that. Unfortunately, it doesn't show well on that slide. The borough side is 1.104. The county now has, I broke it down, the county open space, and the county library. That combines the rest of that pie. And for those numbers, just so you have, it's 0.383 for the county, 0.037 for county open space, 0.056 for the county library. And that was the 21 tax bill. We don't have that for this year because obviously they haven't struck their they don't know what the numbers are yet. Tax collection, we're close to 99%, 98.76. Even a year in Ida, we were able to, obviously collect the taxes. Now that takes care of the current fund portion of that budget, which then jumps us into the parking utility. We're now in the 6th year of the utility. Still confuses people a little. The utility is the governing body. The utility is just a financial mechanism more than anything else. It's not another entity out there. In our budget, the revenue side, the meters are 400,000, permits are 20,000. These are anticipated revenues. The deck, the garage deck is 19,000. We do get a contribution from the deck. These are the expenses on the bottom side. Salary and wage at 180. And expenses at 470,000, and the capital improvement fund is being figured into $50,000. The sewer utility, again, just a financial mechanism. The governing body serves as the sewer utility as well. Well, we have the Raritan Valley Sewage Authority, which is the authority which we're a member into, which treats our sewage. The existing sewer is a gravity-fed sewer system that we're currently analyzing for other opportunities as well. If we were in the administrative consent order, which meant that we had certain limitations, and because we had a failing system, that had been lifted in the middle of last year. We've completed with the help of various parties, which would include T&M, DPW, and other entities, including the efforts made in redevelopment, as well as projects that we've done with inspections. So we are no longer in this consent order, meaning that we're free and clear of any obstacles with the DEP, that we could move our sewer system as we normally could, and it does have capacities. We do have salaries and expenses related to that. While we don't have a separate sewer authority, we do have employees that serve in that sewer department, which is part of, basically for all intents and purposes, part of DPW. Those are your salaries and expenses, and as well as your capital, your debt service. We do currently share a interlocal with Manville basically for an authority more than anything else. It's a licensing that Somerville is required to have. So instead of having an individual, we share an individual with Manville through an interlocal. Our capital budget, so that concludes both utilities and the current fund budget. Now the capital budget, which really runs a little separately, but it does have a marriage to our current fund budget because we do have to make sure we fund the down payment necessary so we can do some of these projects. The roads are funded, are proposed at $614,000. There are some DOT projects associated with that. And New Jersey American Water is making a contribution to Eastern States at $189,000. So quickly, just to explain that, is the project there is much greater than $189,000. So we're taking their money to offset some of the, as if they were going to pave it. But the road needs a lot of reconstruction as well as curb work and apron work. So we're taking their $189,000, and that's going to be a contribution to that project. DOT, we have a grant for $394,000 to help offset the cost of the projects at Brookside Orchard and Riviera. In addition, we're funding curbs and aprons throughout the municipality at $200,000, buildings and grounds at $100,000, redevelopment is $50,000, and where that is we have some costs that get associated throughout the year that we charge to. In most cases, redevelopers, I should say in all cases, redevelopers are required to post money. So when we ever spend money on their behalf, they pay that bill. This is other work that we do, whether it be investigation or work that we feel that we need to do from the borough municipality side. Recreation and parks, $300,000. We currently have obviously we're receiving a grant for $2.3 million for Southside, for Chambry's field. We are very close to finishing our application to the County of Somerset Open Space for improvements to Left Hawk Pool. So we hope to be successful on that as well. We do have a renovation that is on the corner of South Bridge and Veterans Memorial. It's a pocket park, which we're getting $170,000 to renovate as more of a passive park that should complement the transit facility that's taking place there. And I think that I've covered, there you go, I covered, I believe, all the slides. If you have any questions, I know it's not open to the public, but if the governing body had any questions, or I should say, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
It's nice to see a graphic. A lot of this is visual, and I like the clarity, I like the conciseness of it. Question on the sewer. Do we have?
Oh, thank you, yes.
Do we have any indication from the authority page about a sewer rate increase?
There's no.
Anticipated. That's really all I had at this point. There'll be a lot more discussion when we have our hearing, which is the second meeting in.
It's on the front of the budget. Exactly.
All right, so let's go around real quick in case there are just questions that appear to you right now, and in the next month you can formalize your questions, get them to Paige and Kevin and our finance committee. But just real quick, any comment or question?
No, it looks like a very good budget this year.
Roger?
Thank you for all your hard work.
Ben?
Same, great budget, thank you.
Jan?
Two questions, Paige, and again, thank you for your hard work as well. I know what it takes. The $99,000 for a phone, does that include more than just telephone?
It's internet services, it's files,
So here's, not to cut you off, Paige. So what happened was we hired Patty Hunt last year. She was doing social media, and we just got into a discussion about phones. So the $99,000 is phones. We have a handful of POTS lines, which are still the old lines. Most of our phones in the municipality, in Borough Hall, are voice over IP. So we did an interlocal with the Board of Education. So there's not a lot of cost with that. The phones, we have cell phones, obviously, and internet phones, and then obviously the POTS line. Where I was getting to with Patty Hunt is she just finished I shouldn't give myself any credit on this. She just finished an analysis of all the phones that we have in the bills. One thing about Verizon just doesn't bill the borough of Somerville like they do your house. And you get a bill and you look at it and you're good. They bill us with about, 40 bills.
Please.
And you get a bill for every phone number. So what happens is we're looking at a company currently now located in Branchburg to look at doing an audit of the phones. We've done it years ago. When I say, I want to say 12 years ago, maybe when I was here, maybe a couple of years. And they did find some efficiencies so that we were able to move, which resulted in actually the movement to voice over IP. So we're hoping that with the analysis that Patty just put together, when I say analysis, basic collection of data, that we'll be able to go to an auditor now, a communications auditor, and see if there's opportunities for savings, and to see if we can, because there are times where certainly, even though they're a public utility, they may be billing at certain tariffs, and we don't have the skill set in the municipality to identify some of these tariffs, and we're hoping that someone else will. And again, those may be perfectly fine, but I think we're at the point in stage where we want to do that. So that's one of our goals in 2022 in the first half.
Gina, some of the phone bills for an individual department are this thick.
I find that surprising because there's less dependency on phones and more on the internet. So I look forward to seeing the results of that audit. And I would assume this includes cell phones too, this cost?
It would, yeah.
Yes, telephones.
Yeah, just so you know, is we also had, when telephones, we also have tracking systems in vehicles that were charged. It's a Verizon plan, so it gets charged to Verizon as well. So it may be showing other things other than just physical phones.
And the other question I have is how many staff are involved with parking utility?
Well, it's certainly, you have great questions, Councilwoman, let me tell you. So it's one of the areas that we've struggled with a little. And so we have a full-time employee during the day. And we have a part-time employee in enforcement in the evening, and that same employee covers Saturday. It's an area that the governing body, well, certainly the Finance Committee, has suggested that we change our process there, not with enforcement, but with the management of the organization, meaning that right now we have a couple members from the fire company that are kind enough to do our collections, right? So they're collecting out of meters. So that spreads out a little. Then we have someone else doing maintenance. That spreads out a little. So we have, the answer to your question is, it really needs to be a 4 or 5 person operation just in that area, and shouldn't be attached to everybody else in a little way. And I think that's one of our efforts that certainly during the Finance Committee meetings we talked about in order to make the accommodation for that. So we are looking at a situation where we'd like to have, obviously, 2 enforcement officers, someone collecting in that same organization, when I say collecting funds, someone that's managing the maintenance, and someone that's managing the entire operation, including the deck, which currently is handled by, either myself or members of this board. So there is certain areas that we're kind of spread out, and that is an area that, while you saw a figure of $400,000, it's truly in a non-COVID year a $1 million operation, and I think that it has to get back to that.
Just wanted to piggyback with what Kevin said. Eventually, we're looking at the potential for a director of parking that would include the rest of the town as well. For example, there are signs that don't comply. There are issues that, in terms of where striping is. There are a lot of parking issues in the borough that really are not the purview. It's not a police matter. You're not going to give a ticket, but still in all, if you drive around town, you'll see some of the signs are antiquated there. So it's really beyond what we're looking at now. What we're looking at now is predominantly the core community, but as the community spreads, and it's certainly spreading as we see it, we think that there is going to be a need for much more attention to the parking in Somerville. As more apartments come in, there may be parking on the street, where you should be parking in the lots and what have you. So there are some issues that we need to take a look at.
Well, you put it in context, I'm looking at $180,000 in salaries against $400,000 in revenue, and you're saying non-COVID, it should be close to $1 million, so
Be
that,
close to a minute.
that makes more sense to me. Thank you.
All right, and I'll give the final word to our finance chair. Vice chair first, and
Only thing that, one of the things that, and I learned this from my own practice, there is no average, okay? So that when you go home and say, well, because of what the house is, not so much the real dollars, we're looking at the value of living in Somerville. And that's what we try to emphasize. What's the value of being in town? What are you getting as a taxpayer that other towns aren't getting? And why does that translate into people who can't wait to move into Somerville? And that's a very important consideration. So we're not just looking at numbers, we're looking at value.
Mr. Lee.
A lot of countless hours working with Granville, Kevin, Page, and unseen part of it is department heads. Because if we decide to, say, oh, we can't give this much money here, we have to, do this here, we've got to work with the department heads to make sure that, everything's being spent wisely. And as, I say, as someone who rents, seeing home value and tax bill, like, I don't see that. I just pay a check to my landlord. So, well, what does that mean for me? Yeah, my rent got raised a very minor amount this past year, but at the end of the day, that eventually funnels into taxes. So it's important to make that distinction, I think. And I go to other towns, and the mayor could probably back me up on this. I go to other towns. What do I see? You got to pay for a private garbage company to pick up. We pick up garbage here. Snow removal, same thing. Sometimes in other towns it's privatized.
Leaf removal.
Leaf removal, yeah.
Shipping, yeah.
And shipping. We're one of the few towns in the area that does that and has the vacuum picks it up. Same with street sweeping. So it's one of those sort of old political things where you can have high services and you pay a little bit more for those services. I think year after year, people like getting their garbage picked up and not having to go through a private company. So that's all I have, and it was a lot of countless hours and a lot of headaches, and not too much yelling.
And Mayor, I would just add, if there's questions or after you had an opportunity to kind of go through the budget and go through it, the document's not as daunting as the number of pages in it. Feel free to, certainly the council, even the public, call Paige and I, and we could work through it between now and the budget hearing so that people are comfortable. They shouldn't have to wait till, a council meeting to show up and ask questions. They can ask, what does this mean, and what is this? And obviously, it provides just a level of familiarity that they may not have. But the document is like you said, after you have a little time to look at it, and familiarize yourself with some of the numbers, we're available for you. If there's any questions that come up.
I wanted to make a final comment. When I read this weekend, I wrote down somewhere the value of the tax-exempt properties in town. And it's right now
47%.
47.
That's the rental.
And the public needs to understand that. 47% of the taxable land value in Somerville. And what is our total land value? Over
The
200
net
million?
taxable value
Yeah,
is
over a billion.
Yes.
All right.
Don't look at me for that.
So let's say out of 100 properties, let's just say random 100 properties, 53 pay tax and 47 don't. And that's
Mayor, let me
That's
correct that for a
reality.
second,
Yeah.
because the 47% is the amount of rental you have in this.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think it's like 40. It was like 42 and a half. If I
Yeah, so
remember
it
right.
was, it's around, went to 42, yes, it was 39 last year.
I used to use the analogy several years ago when it was 38%. of an 8-cylinder car with only 5 spark plugs fired. Now it's 42, dollars out of 100 that we don't collect. And as a result, the other 58%, that's the difference in the rate. We do get some pilot money from the county. We do get a little bit of revenue from the hospital. And those are our 2 biggest tax exempt, properties in town. And we're making efforts to, if not hold that 42%, to reduce it as well. That's the downside of living in a county seat where we have a lot of tax exempt properties. The tax increases over the last, I would say, 20 years here in town are not driven by spending. They're driven by the inability to raise revenue the traditional way. And as a result, this table and former tables with a variety of individuals from both political sides of the aisle have been very aggressive in finding alternative ways of raising revenue. And our pilots, although they've been successful, I think are just hitting the surface now. And we've got a few more projects that will be fully funded within the next year or 2, and then a few more in the development stages right now. We just approved one on Main Street the other day, and we have another one coming in, I believe, this week. So, the tax rate is high. There's no argument about that. And any mayor or council person that tells the public that they're going to lower their taxes just doesn't have an understanding of the reality of the tax base here in Somerville. We are very careful to what we spend, and we're being very creative and aggressive in raising revenue that's not traditional taxes. And as a result, we have a small tax increase, but it's considering what we're dealing with. I think it's a very finely crafted budget. It may not be time for the public if you're watching this now. The Board of Education is meeting tomorrow night. It's my understanding that they're going to have a introductory discussion about their budget. Their budget adoption doesn't happen until their second meeting in April, so they're about 6 weeks behind us. But it's my understanding that they will have a discussion tomorrow night about their budget, which right now is about 58 cents on the dollar. So we'll see what, by the time we adopt here, we should have a good idea of where the schools are to give you a true number of the total tax bill. Because let's face it, folks, when you get your tax bill in the mail, very few people look at the bar graphs for the different declinations of what's there. They look at the little box, they compare it to last year's box, and then the phones start ringing as to why the taxes went up $200. It's a combination of all the factors. So if you have questions from the public and you need further information, call our professionals, call me, and I can try to explain it as best I can as well. But stay involved, go to a school board meeting, go to a county meeting, because they're sending you a bill too. Even though it comes out on our letterhead, it's all part of the same pot. So I thank the committee, I thank our professionals. It starts in October, and even though we'll adopt hopefully next month, it never ends. And look forward to crafting one again next year. We get a few months off, and then we start up again. Thank you.
Sure.
Kevin, do we have to do anything to adopt to introduce this today? Do we have a,
Yeah, we need to have a roll call.
all right, so I need a motion to introduce the municipal budget for 2022 as presented.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Council members: Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Again, public hearing will be 7 p.m. Monday night, April 18th in this room.
And that was the vote for the introduction of municipal and the user-friendly budget.
And this will be posted on the website, right, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. Tomorrow. Good. All right, we have one ordinance for introduction, 2670-22-0321, a bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $2,417,000 for various improvements and purposes for and by the Borough of Somerville in the County of Somerset, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $1,444,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of the appropriation. Motion for introduction only.
So move.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, we have two ordinances for hearing and adoption. We'll take them both separately. First one, 2665-22-0222, amending Chapter 150 entitled Sidewalks, Section 34 of the Borough Code entitled Violations and Penalties, establishing a fixed fine for the owner or tenant of land abutting the sidewalk of any street of $100 for failing to remove snow or ice from such sidewalk. I need a motion to open the public hearing on this order.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public hearing, comments or questions from the audience? Yes, name and address for the record.
Hi, Mateo Garcia, 171 Mercer Street. For this ordinance, what is the timeframe in which they have to clean up or otherwise they're fined? Is it 24 hours, 40 hours?
I believe currently it's 12 hours of sunlight. 12 hours of daylight. In other words, if the snow ends at midnight, you don't get 12 hours till noon, you get 12 hours from like 6 a.m.
And is this something that's like actively enforced after like a snowstorm, like someone goes around to look for this, or like does someone have to call and report it in?
Well, in the past, we've had chronic offenders, and we know in advance. I see one of our local businessmen who knows. We have several properties that no matter what we try to do, we know that they're not going to comply. But it is, if it passes, it will be, enforceable, through our code office. And it's for public safety.
I should also say that this ordinance is not new. The requirement that the snow be removed is not new. The only thing you're voting on here is fixing the fine at $100.
Yes.
The ordinance has existed for quite some time. And this way, it actually makes it easier. This way, you don't have to go to municipal court to find out what the fine is. You can just write a check and send it in the mail. We're actually making it easier to pay your fine.
Well, $100 doesn't encourage people to plow or shovel. That's the problem I have with this. I mean, I think it should be $500.
Well, let's wait till we get to the discussion part before we vote. Let's continue with public.
I hope I didn't interrupt you.
No, I suppose ordinances are fine and all. I wonder about the mechanism of enforcing it and the clarity as to what the public should know, right? So, I mean, if it's 12 hours of daylight, I don't know if most town residents know. I mean, I assume most people just they shovel as soon as it stops snowing. But I suppose as a townsperson, one wants to know what is a reasonable expectation to expect a homeowner to shovel, as you're walking your dog or something. So, I mean, not that I'm not a snitch or
I believe
to
the
report, but it's just to
I
know.
believe the timing is 12 hours a day. In case it stops snowing in the middle of the night, your clock doesn't start at that point. It starts from daybreak.
Are there 12 hours of daylight in the winter?
Yeah.
We taught you too well at the high school.
I can understand 12 hours. I've never heard of 12 hours of daylight.
I mean, the whole idea is to give people an opportunity to shovel. It's not supposed to be punitive, but it's not supposed to be, on the other side, it's not supposed to be abusive, right?
No, correct, right, and you don't want someone going around 12 hours on the dot and then going to check, but I suppose that is just.
I assure you that efficiency won't occur.
Any more public comment? If not, I'll take a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. We'll go around the room. Mr. Brady.
I mean, I'm not crazy about any fines because I think people should comply because it's the right thing to do, but $100 is $100, okay? I think it'd be made with more than that. The problem is still gonna be, people will do what they wanna do. I guess my concern is that people who happen to go away on a trip and then they get back, hopefully you have someone, a neighbor who's gonna shovel for you. I don't think that happens all that much, especially the way things have been with travel now. Nobody can get out of town, but You know, I mean, I think it's reasonable to expect that that be done. I just wonder if, I do believe that we comply with that as well as the borough. We try to remove it. There are parts near the schools, for example, that I have to tell you, I'm very pleased to see over on Union. That these, it used to be, we talked about, well, everybody would have to do the little spot behind the house, but I see when the state, as Fred was saying, he was surprised the state put in a new sidewalk on Union Avenue at their expense, and that we can keep it clean, and we have a very good public works department that seems to be able to clean off that, because kids walk to school.
Mr. Weed, any comments?
Yeah, just, you know, you said it, this was more of, this past winter, just getting texts and pictures from so many people, like, look, they haven't cleared their sidewalk and it's near a school. It wasn't even necessarily homeowners, it was some businesses, some absentee landlords. So this was more, and this doesn't change anything we've already been doing, except for whatever reason, under a prior administration, a prior mayor, it was decided that let's make them go to court and almost shame them, and that's just not the way to go. It's really not. It's more of, let's make sure it's done right, and let's make sure it's it's easier for us to enforce it, because for us to enforce it, it's a whole lot of red tape, and and then no one's sidewalk gets cleared at the end of the day. Now the hope of changing this is to make it so that the sidewalk can get cleared and people realize, hey, I got fined this one time. Let me make sure that doesn't happen again.
I believe that we should encourage a walkable community, and that people who chronically do not clear their sidewalks, especially after the snow, even if it's a day or two later and it gets frozen, it's there for a week, it creates great hazard, and they should be severely fined at $100 for a landlord or anyone. It's just a little, like Jeremy said, write the check and you're done with it. And that's not the right thing to do. They need to take responsibility and clean their property, and just charging them $100 doesn't encourage that.
All right. Mr. Mitchell, don't feel obligated to comment if you're happy with it, but if you have anything
Well,
to add.
I am happy with it. I just wanted one comment. The gentleman in the audience was pointing out that the daylight is less than 12 hours a day in the winter. So you actually do have over a day to get to clear that sidewalk. The question that comes up is what happens if you have 11 hours of daylight and it snows again? Does the clock restart?
That'll be a separate ordinance, Tom.
Yeah, we're not affecting this ordinance.
Tom,
Yeah, it's just changing the.
Roger, anything?
I have nothing to say.
All right, Mr. President? My only comment, Kevin, does the current ordinance refer to owner or tenant?
The existing ordinance?
Or does it refer to just owner? Because I can't see finding a tenant unless it's in his lease that he's responsible.
Most landlords do that.
The property owner ultimately is responsible. Because currently that's who we find.
It includes tenant.
It does?
Yes.
Okay, well,
I have to shovel my own walkway.
all right, well, we're
Most
changing.
landlords do put that in the lease at the time.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. Kevin, you want to do roll call?
Sure. Council members Graham O'Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
No,
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, our next ordinance.
One quick comment on
Yes.
that is, Councilwoman, the reason it's $100 a day, it is a balancing act. So what happens is if it's too much money, someone will take us to court, and we'll be in court, and we'd rather not be in court. So I know when Jeremy said they pay and they go, we're trying to avoid going to court, because several things can happen in court. First of all, the court doesn't want to hear it. And second of all, they could plead it. And so we had thought $100 was a balancing act that we could do, but certainly if we evaluate that in the next, hopefully it never snows again, but
It
it
always
will.
will change.
we could always change that to reflect that. So, I just wanted to point that out. It was somewhat of an arbitrary number that we picked.
We'll have to monitor it and see
Sure.
what the results are. All right, our next ordinance, 2669-22-0307, approving an amendment to the built-to-suit lease for property known as tax block 73, lot 1602, located in the Gaston Avenue redevelopment area with FDS Somerville NJ LLC, the contract redeveloper pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law for the emergency services facility project. I need a motion to open public on this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public session is open on this ordinance. Hearing no comment or question, I'll take a motion to close public.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Excellent. We're at our open public.
Just a comment, Your
Yes.
Honor. I want to thank everyone for their support. This has been a really long, hard deal. It's not over. I always think of it, we've only done 50% of the work. Now we have to put the thing up. But it's been long and overdue. I'm glad we have the sign up. I wish we had a bigger sign. I hope that we can get that lot cleaned out, okay, Kevin? If we can get them to clean some of the garbage that's on that lot.
We're working on
Yeah,
that.
that-
Good, okay.
Yeah.
Good. And then it'll be great. And Colin, I have to thank you for all the things that you've done.
All the good things.
All the arguments, all of the successes, Colin has done an amazing job on.
Thank you.
And again, I'll repeat this, I've said it countless times, the single biggest project this town has undertaken since the high school was planned and opened, I believe, in 1970. I believe that's the first year it was occupied. And this is a facility that's gonna serve us well into the next, half century. All right, open public meeting time, I'll take a motion to open the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom, Fred
Yes.
Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public is open, name and address for the record, approach the mic and have,
Rich O'Neill, 124 West Cliff Street. I had not intended to say anything tonight. However, the passing of this ordinance, to me, is an amazing thing. The last project you said is a high school. I was fighting fires in old houses where the high school stands today. That's how long ago this thing has been going on. We were appointed by David Holland to the committee to move this project forward. Dave's been out here a long time, and tonight, I can see the end of the ride here, and I'm very, very happy. Not that it really matters, but it does to me. I'm really, really happy about this. And one other thing, I wasn't planning on saying anything, but when you couldn't get the Salem tree planted in this town because the government says you can't do it, I sat there thinking that the Revolutionary War was fought here, and that building was part of that. And a lot of it was to fight the government that was telling people what to do. And I'll stand here right now and tell you, I don't care what Trenton says, you give me that tree, I'll plant it. Just keep that in mind.
thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Terry Garcia, 171 Mercer Street. I invited friends into town 2 Fridays ago, and they had a wonderful time in downtown Somerville. I wanted to share that because I love bringing people to this town to show them what we have to offer. So our evening started having dinner at Salted Lime, and then we progressed into the night going to the arcade. And they described Somerville in words that we've all heard before as quaint, charming, very lively. But I also like hearing their feedback, right? I love inviting people and getting an open and honest take on the town. And 2 things that they commented on, which I want to share with you, Mr. Mayor, since I should address the mayor in these public comments, is one, just making parking a little bit more easily identifiable. I don't know if there's, I suppose parking is always an issue, right? And I suppose people always complain about the lack of parking, but I think that there are certain parking decks that maybe could be employed, especially during the evenings and on weekends if they're not already in use. There's like one parking deck on Veterans Memorial Drive between like Warren and Canning Street or something, and I don't even know if people know that it's there, or if you can park there, if you have to pay. And so I suppose a little bit more clarity or signage. And I know that there's another parking deck on the corner of Main and Mechanic Street, which again is also very close to Main Street, very easily. You could walk, to Main Street, and if you encourage people to park there, it brings more of the town center further from the core where it's at, and invites more people to realize that this is also part of Main Street, where Mechanic Street is. And so I suppose that my counter argument to them was, we do have parking, but I suppose maybe having better signage available might be a good idea. I would also encourage perhaps maybe the Downtown Somerville Alliance to partner or to look at maybe working with Google or Apple Maps just to have a better control over how to identify parking spaces on those places, or in downtown rather, I should say. I suppose the first thing that people do is they take out their phone and they want to see, where's their where's parking, and if we can, tell Google, hey, we're the account owner for the town or whatever, please identify these as prominent parking places. It might help with the audience that comes to Somerville, which tends to be a younger crowd, especially in the evenings. The second thing that they commented on, which I thought was interesting, and I would like to put up, is to the extent that the town is responsible for any control over signs and its prominence and how bright signs are or big they are in businesses. My friends encouraged, and I would agree, the use of better signage in the businesses to allow for more prominent display. The one example that they gave, which I thought was very interesting, is the Village Brewery. We're all proud of the Village Brewery. We love it. It's lively. It adds, it's kind of the heart of downtown at the moment, right? Especially in the evenings and on weekends. But I guess, this is a bad compliment to the architect. They thought it was a movie theater. They didn't think it was a brewery. So perhaps just allowing or encouraging more prominent signage on the businesses might help. My third point is I just want to piggyback off of the last council meeting. There was a member from the town who was struggling to get a permit to open up a cannabis business. To the extent that we welcome business in Somerville, I encourage that the application process be easy for all types of businesses. I know that there seems to be a certain hesitancy or perhaps even a reluctance when it comes to cannabis, but as a council member at the last meeting expressed, 70% or 70+% of the town people voted on it. It's something that we should welcome and invite. And one of the things I love doing is walking around town and just talking to random people in coffee shops and as I walk my dog. And a dozen people that I spoke with in the last 2 weeks, a dozen all agreed they wish to have a cannabis business in town. So the demand is there. I think that we, as a town that's hospitable to small businesses, all jokes aside, should make the process of opening up a business easier. It shouldn't be so cumbersome. Things like zoning and stuff should be made a little bit clearer and better expressed. And we have rules and regulations and they need to be enforced, absolutely. But Somerville can very much be the downtown of Somerset County. We want all of our storefronts full and open. There's nothing like seeing a nice, lively downtown. It's a shame when you see an empty storefront that has a for lease sign for a couple of months and it can't get a tenant. There's not a lack of business ideas. I suppose that we just want to make sure that we can tell people, hey, come to Somerville, open up your business. This is a great place to grow and to thrive. And again, that resident from the last council meeting, he's a resident of Somerville whose brother owns a pizza shop. He wants to continue his family presence in town, and I strongly encourage this town council, this governing body, to encourage small businesses to open up and make it easier. And then my last comment, I did comment last time about the basketball court on Mercer Street, and I know that it's being processed. It's in disrepair. It was disrepaired or it was destroyed after Hurricane Ida. Just want to continue putting that out there that, now that the weather is warmer, there's a lot of kids in that basketball court. I don't know if as a temporary solution, the town may want to encourage placing cones or something so that kids are not playing on the broken basketball court on that side. It is rather dangerous, but again, I want to put pressure on the town council, Mr. Mayor, to get that process accelerated before the summer arrives, if at all possible. We want our basketball court on Mercer Street to be fixed and repaired so that kids have a place to play in the summertime.
So noted, thank you. Anyone else? Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
We have our consent resolutions. Are there any the council would like pulled for individual discussion?
97?
Okay. I'll summarize these as listed. 87, contract to St. Huber's for animal control services. 88, reappointing Richard Matthews to the Somerset Raritan Valley Sewage Authority. 89, awarding a contract to Gentilini Motors for 2 Ford Escape hybrid vehicles. 90, canceling uncollectible taxes. 91, a payment to Rutgers for reimbursement associated with the hiring of Shannon Kelleher. 92, authorizing temporary appropriation for the 2022 current operating municipal budget until a formal budget is adopted. 93, awarding a contract to Demco in the amount of $12,740.28 for library furniture. 94, authorizing a temporary appropriation for the 2022 parking utility budget, again, until a formal budget is adopted. 95, authorizing a temporary appropriation for the 2022 sewer utility budget. 96, authorizing change order with contract with Crossroads Paving for North Mid-Off Street roadway improvements. 97, we're going to discuss. 98, approving Church World Services holding a National Crop Hunger Walk for Ukraine on April 22nd from 10 to 4. 99, authorizing contract of the award of the non-fair and open contract for municipal financial advisory services, Venus Advisors for sanitary sewer evaluation. 100, appointing Catherine E. Hose as municipal court judge retroactively effective March 18th of 2022 for a 3-year period. 101, amending resolution 048, appointing the 2022 officials for the borough. 102, authorizing a contract to Ben Schaefer Recreation for repairs to the Patricia Webster Basketball Court on Mercer Street. 103, approving the legal runaround 5K race and final walk on Thursday, May 26th at 5 p.m. And 104, authorizing myself and the clerk to execute a collective bargaining agreement between our AFSCME union for the period of January 1, 2022 to December 25, December 31. I'll make that addition, that change ended the fiscal year 2026. So it's a 5-year contract, retroactive to the first of this year, ending on New Year's Eve of 2026. Those are our collective resolutions. I'll take a motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, and we have one for discussion, 097. Accepting the donation for the rehabilitation of the basketball court located in Carol Painter Park from Pave Right Inc. in collaboration with the Drew McLaughlin Fund, and authorizing the waiving of local fees and naming the basketball court in memory of Drew McLaughlin. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Weedy, you
Yeah,
want to
I
comment?
just have to make a comment, this is part of rehabilitating some of the parks that were damaged from the flood. So, we're working on it, but, the real reason I brought this up is because of Drew McLaughlin. And, McLaughlin's, I've been friends with the family my whole life here in Somerville. They have been in Somerville many generations, and if you don't know Drew McLaughlin, he was the middle child of the McLaughlin family, and he unfortunately succumbed to brain cancer a few years ago. And he was, it was tough on the family, but it was, his friends started this foundation, and he was all about recreation. He was, I remember he was an umpire in Little League Baseball when I was growing up. Yes, coach basketball, he was, and then I believe his full-time job was a golf instructor, if I'm not mistaken, or something to do with golf. So, while he was a Red Sox fan and I'm a Yankees fan, that meant that, you know, that those are minor differences, but, you know, the fact that, you know, this will be a memory of Drew McLaughlin means a hell of a lot, especially the people that knew him. I just want to make that comment.
And I know once the facility is rehabilitated, we'll have some sort of a public event. And Kevin, let's make sure we invite, you know, recreation, maybe our varsity and middle school teams to come to maybe to do a demo or something, you know. My basketball days are gone, but you know, I'm sure Kevin can hold up, you know, the borough end of a team with some of our fellow police officers as well, because the kids love to get a chance to take on the older folks. But it's, you know, another contributor, even at a young age, left us much too soon, and to have a facility with his name that will help kids in the future, nothing could be a more fitting tribute. And I thank PaveRight and the foundation for stepping forward, because it's not just laying down a little bit of blacktop. It's a significant contribution to the betterment of the town, and I hope that every kid that plays there someday takes the time to learn a little bit about the person for whom it's named. So let's vote on it.
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Bills and vouchers. Mr. Reed.
I move to pay in the amount of $824,642.66 in bills and vouchers.
Second.
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See you in 2 weeks.
I walked.